On another note, I would respect it if Americans will stop asking me if I'm from Jamaica. There are more places in the Caribbean, and I do not think that I sound like them. Where are you from? Are you from the Caribbean? Which part? Sounds way more better than, are you Jamaican? Excuse? Nothing against them, but it's frustrating to hear that everywhere you go.
Some myths and reality about what the common things about that people get wrong about Caribbean.
Okay.
Is that all Caribbean?
All Caribbean.
All Caribbean?
All Caribbean. The first myth is the Caribbean is just beaches and vacation vibes. The second myth is everyone in the Caribbean looks and sound the same. The other myth is Caribbean culture equals Jamaican culture only.
What's up everyone, and welcome back to Josely Commentary. Today we are talking about something that might sound funny at first, but for many people across the Caribbean, it's actually a real source of frustration. Why does everyone assume that every Caribbean accent is Jamaican? Someone speaks with a Caribbean accent and immediately you hear, "Oh, you are a Jamaican?" But what if they are Trinidadian, Barbadian, Grenadinian, St. Lucian, Guyanese, Vicentian, or from one of the many other beautiful Caribbean nations? So today we are reacting to these conversations and looking at why Jamaica has become so strongly associated with Caribbean identity around the world. And let me make something clear from the beginning. This is not an attack on Jamaica. Jamaica has every right to be proud of its global influence, but at the same time, other Caribbean people deserve to have their own identities recognized. So let's get into it. Full credit to the original creators of these videos.
What does this mean? One thing you need to know about Caribbean people is our facial expressions and our sounds mean something. Now, there's levels to this. There's, and there's what they mean.
Y'all know my biggest pet peeve. Why is it that every time I speak and somebody hears my accent, they automatically assume I'm Jamaican? Y'all do know Jamaica is not the only island, right? Seriously.
Yo, the man really think Kaya got Caribbean accent from Jamaica, boy. These people really think all Caribbean countries is inside of Jamaica. How the fuck you tell me, boy? You ain't take no geography class.
Well, we know land in foreign day and they are Americans. Please stop assuming that everybody from the Caribbean is from Jamaica. I now tell you I'm from Trinidad. How you hate Jamaica day? Yeah, so
excuse guys, what? I love you guys' accent. Where are you from?
Oh, we from Trinidad.
What part of Jamaica? Oh, what part of Jamaica is that?
Trinidad and Jamaica,
Is it? My family went there on a vacation.
No.
Well,
Alright, yeah.
Wait, guys. Can you guys say a slang for me? Where are you from?
Well, there goes a saying in Trinidad, and it goes, all your mud.
Bro, the other day, I got bored and I was researching the population of each Caribbean country, and some of these actually blew my mind, so I'm going to share them with you lot. Starting off with Haiti, bro. We got 11.9 million people. 11.9 million. Bro, when the backside did all of you lot get over there? Did we all just decide to move to Haiti and not tell Niz? There's no chance that there's that many people living in Haiti, bro. The second most shocking one to me was Jamaica, bro. Like, apparently, it is estimated that there are only 2.8 million people in the whole of Jamaica. But then, it even kind of checks out, because all of you lot just live in Brixton, innit? So it's like, or even New York, so yeah, it kind of makes sense. The last one that kind of shocked me was Barbados, bro. Like, when I think of Barbados, I don't even think it registers in my head how small Barbados actually is. But there are only 280,000 people roughly living in Barbados. Like, Barbados is actually tiny, but it's like, when you don't even really think about these type of things. Like, when you think Barbados, you just assume it's kind of big, like, in comparison to other Caribbean countries, bro. But yeah, bro, mad. I don't know, like, 12 million Haitians, bro. There's no way. And I know I'm going to get niggas in the comments like, yeah, but Haiti is blah 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 amount bigger than this, that, and the third, and you know, blah blah per square mile. And bro, I get all of that in it, but 12 million people, I never knew that.
Why are there so many Jamaicans around? Every minute I'm seeing Jamaica and Barbados in people's flags. Jamaica and Barbados flag in people's names and bios. Why are there so many? What's happening there? Why are there so many Jabajans? Why are there so many? Huh? What is it about us? Huh? Oh, I'm Jabajan, by the way. What? What is it? Huh? Why are there so many?
So to our first generation, like Chinese who living in England, just know we don't speak like Jamaicans. So he's nobody rascal, bomb, clack. We don't talk like that. We talk like a wireless talk here. Alright? So we in China, we don't say, but what the rascal, we say all this stinking dirty mother. We just say that. Cunt at the end. That's how we just cuss. Right? And quite recently, just recently, we have a new thing that we see. Holland non-pussy, squirting, right? Just recently. That was just like about a couple days ago, but that's not new, right? So she just talk like a wireless talk. Like how I talk in here, that's how we just talk. And then if it wants to, like, you know, who went to convent and who's from the West, you know, who say that they're there and they are, they speak like that, you know. But know the difference, please. Thank you.
Like, y'all really think that Jamaica is the only Caribbean island that there is?
Yeah! I would reach that grade 6 be a year about the Caribbean countries, you know. Hear about England and US. You know, a barrel thing already, you know, I have to get up in Irish Springs. Yeah, man, when we start learning about the CARICOM business in that grade 6, I say, wait, but me there know say other people there. Yeah, man, me there, I say, yo, I wonder what kind of music they listen to. Reggae. I wonder if they do track and sport. Then come last. Football, last. Tourism, last. Make senseness, last. Relevance, last. So we start say, well, if I saw it go, you know, better just Jamaica alone there than Caribbean because we alone best. We are bring Caribbean, you know, and not evident. And I like say when they get up and want to do it, but who don't know what to do it, so somebody have to do it. And no matter where you go, for you see a Jamaica, they are going to do say a Jamaica. Because the Bible say by their fruits you shall know them. Don't care where Jamaican have had over abroad, you have to find a way to catch one little Jamaica flag. Or one little Rasta color upon him, you see what I say? Yeah,
alright, let me just post this because I feel like people are getting confused. Panama is not Caribbean. South American countries are not Caribbean. Central American countries are not Caribbean. And Guyana, I'm not gonna hold you, y'all got lucky, but I'm gonna tell you why. Alright, so bear with me, right? So I had seen this post right here where it said countries that are not Caribbean: Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, Belize, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, and Mexico. And now people, I love y'all, but a lot of y'all don't know your geography. Like, you're mixing geography with history, with location, with culture. It's blowing mine. So a little preface before I start. Guyana is not in Caribbean waters, but culturally is Caribbean. That's why they get a pass. Suriname, South American, not culturally Caribbean. French Guyana, South American, not culturally Caribbean. Belize, Panama, Central American, not culturally Caribbean unless you're like on the coastline. Like, technically the coastline villages of Panama and Venezuela could technically be considered culturally Caribbean, but they're not Caribbean. Colombia, Mexico, obviously they're not Caribbean. Damn near the only really thing in Mexico that's Caribbean is Yucatan, but that's really not even Caribbean. But let's get back to Guyana and Panama, because we all know these other guys are not Caribbean. Now, these slides will be very, very quick before I give y'all the geography lesson, but just take a look at the detailed Caribbean countries, all right? Y'all got that? Cool. Panama is right here. Guyana is right here. So far out. But let me break this down to y'all, okay? So my point of view is that a lot of people, especially our Caribbean brothers and sisters, are confusing Antillean/West Indian with culturally Caribbean with geographically Caribbean. And as somebody who's really versed in history and geography, when I see this whole battle on who's Caribbean and not, it blows my mind. The Antilles are the isles within the Caribbean, the Greater and the Lesser Antilles. We consider that as Caribbeans to be Caribbean, mainland Caribbean, from Cuba down to like the St. Lucians, Lesser Antilles, right? Cool. Culturally Caribbean. Now that could be the Francophones, the Anglophones, and the Spanophones, whoever they are. If you got Carnival, you're culturally Caribbean, this, that, and the third. You don't, what's understood don't gotta be explained when it comes to being culturally Caribbean. We all know what it means. Geographically Caribbean. Now, this is where the problem comes in. A lot of countries who are geographically Caribbean, but not culturally, have been trying to blend into the Caribbean space, if that makes sense. And that's why I keep saying Guyana got lucky. Because Guyana is not Antillean. It's culturally Caribbean, yes, but it is not geographically Caribbean. Damn near. It's not even in them waters, I guess. Panama is not Antillean. It's not West Indian. It is not even culturally Caribbean unless you're on the deep coastline. So your country is not Caribbean. Geographically, y'all still pretty much damn near Caribbean, but you're not really Caribbean. And the reason why I bring this up is because Venezuela, you don't see them in this problem at all. Like the coastline communities, like how Panama has, they know they're culturally Caribbean, but they don't consider themselves Caribbean. You feel what I'm saying? Venezuela has probably the deepest coastline in the Caribbeans, but you don't see the problem because they know that they're not in the Antilles, they're not culturally Caribbean, they are just geographically Caribbean. And to be honest, geographic Caribbeans don't really be claiming Caribbean. They'll be claiming West Indian, this, that, and the third, this, that, and the third. But this whole new Panama, where does Panama go? Where does Guyana go? I've been recognizing Guyanans as the Guyanese as Caribbeans since as far as I can remember. Like, they're pretty much the cousins of Jamaicans, and I know a lot of people won't like to hear that. But the Panamanians, where y'all coming from with this? Where y'all coming from with this? Like, we know, like, y'all got Haitian ancestors. We know y'all got Caribbean ancestors. But y'all eat empanadas for real. You feel what I'm saying? Y'all do Central American shit for real. Like, I see the Caribbean culture. I see the Caribbean influence. Not culture. I see the Caribbean influence. But y'all ain't really Caribbean for real. But let's get on to this, okay? Now I'm gonna give y'all some geographic history and some, you know, some cultural history so y'all can take this knowledge and bring it to the people talking trash, all right? This is a map of the Caribbean. The Atlantic Ocean is up here. That's why a lot of people don't consider the Bahamas to be part of the Caribbean. Panama is right here. You can see it's in Caribbean waters, but Panama is literally the bridge between Central and South America. All it is geographically, quote unquote, Caribbean. But if that's the case, Venezuela should be claiming Caribbean too. They don't. Guyana, you see, they're barely touching it, but they share so much culture with Jamaica and a bunch of other Caribbean nations, the Patois nations, the Anglophone nations, that's why I be saying they got lucky with it. In the next 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, people won't even be thinking about if Guyana is Caribbean. But Panama, y'all gotta get it together. I don't know what y'all doing over there. I for real don't. If y'all want to give like the communities that are by the coastline awareness, do that. But y'all back mountain Panamanians from over here, that makes no sense, bro. Like y'all Pacific side Panamanians, it don't make sense as to why the Pacific side is, you know what I'm saying? It just don't make sense. Geography 101. So a quick summary for this, all right? Just a quick summary. Guyana, is it Antillean? No. Geographically Caribbean? No. Culturally Caribbean? Yes. Panama, Antillean? No. It's not in the Greater or Lesser Antilles. Geographically Caribbean? Yeah, it's in them waters, like Venezuela. Culturally Caribbean? Only the coastline. That's it. Like communities on the coastline. Y'all Pacific niggas shouldn't be claiming shit, okay? Venezuela, Antillean, West Indian, no. Geographically Caribbean, yes. Largest coastline in the Caribbeans. Culturally Caribbean, no. Because it's only the coastline communities. So when I hear these communities or these cultures talking about who's Caribbean or who's not, we gotta start really breaking it down as to, do you mean geographically Caribbean? Because if that's the case, there's a lot more countries in the Caribbean. There's a lot of countries that are in the Caribbean that are not culturally Caribbean. Y'all could look up the rest. A few of them border Venezuela. Because if Panama's in the Caribbean, it's not Nicaragua, it's not the Yucatan. You feel what I'm saying? Because y'all are geographically, y'all are not culturally. Guyana, they pass with the culture test. Geographically, no. Antillean, no. I just hope that does not go over y'all's heads. And I just hope that y'all could take this and learn from it, because this conversation it shows where y'all lack, bruh. Like, the first time I heard this convo, I was like, they're mixing up geography with culture and history. Come on, y'all. Come on. And also, when it comes to Panama and this, that, and the third, as a Haitian, bro, we don't give a fuck about CARICOM. Like, we don't care about CARICOM. But Panama. Y'all ain't even in CARICOM. What are y'all doing? If y'all could claim Caribbean, the Nicaraguans would claim Caribbean. And they ain't Caribbean. Once again, Guyana is culturally Caribbean. So if y'all want to fight over who's Caribbean or who's not, please specify. Are y'all speaking about culturally? Are y'all speaking about the Antilles on who's West Indian? Or are y'all speaking on who's in the waters? Because both those three differences affect the conversation. And what I've seen in this conversation is people are beefing over those three differences. But as always, I'm Zavi. Comment and discuss in the comments. I would love for any Guyanese or other Caribbean islanders to tell me how they feel about this and who they believe is Caribbean for real or not. But as a Haitian or Dominican or Cuban or Puerto Rican or Jamaican or any Greater Antillian or West Indian in general, bro, we know who's Caribbean. This whole fight that I see, bro, is with them border nations, bro. So hit them comments, correct these people, and stop with the lies.
All Caribbeans aren't just Jamaicans. The region actually has insane diversity. Can you guess which country is the most European genetically? If you said Cuba, then you would be correct, as an average Cuban is 70% European genetically, mostly of Spanish origin. Now, which country is the most African genetically? Haiti would be the correct answer. An average Haitian is of 93% African ancestry, which is the highest in Americas and makes Haitians cluster closer to West Africans than to other Caribbeans in terms of genetics. The most native Amerindian place in the Caribbean is undoubtedly Puerto Rico. An average Puerto Rican carries 20% of Taino ancestry, and nowhere else in the Caribbean is native ancestry that high, as Caribbean natives were affected the most by depopulation. Finally, you might be shocked to know which country is the most Asian in the Caribbean. If you know your stuff, you would say Trinidad and Tobago, as the country is 35% South Asian in demographics, who make up the largest ethnic group in Trinidad and Tobago. There is also a sizable Chinese community in...
Are you Jamaican? You're from Anguilla? Don't you mean Angola? Is that in Jamaica? What language do you speak? Is it patois? Oh, the weather here is very bad. Why'd you move here? Do you guys eat chicken in Anguilla? Where'd you say you were from again? Is it Ebola?
I want to sing a song for you. I'm a Trinity Bone. Hello.
Welcome back. One of the funniest and sometimes most frustrating experiences for Caribbean people is introducing themselves to someone from outside the region. They speak, and before they even say where they're from, someone responds, "Are you Jamaican?" And they're like, "No." Then comes the second question, "But you sound Jamaican." And that's where the confusion begins, because to some who isn't familiar with Caribbean accents, many different accents can sound similar. The Caribbean is a relatively small region geographically, but culturally it is incredibly diverse. There are different accents, dialects, expressions, histories, musical traditions, and influences. Even within the same country, you can hear significant differences depending on the community or island. But internationally, many people don't have enough exposure to those differences to recognize them. And Jamaica happens to be the Caribbean country that many people around the world know extremely well. So when they hear a Caribbean accent, their brain sometimes make the quickest connection. Caribbean accent equals to Jamaica, and honestly, I can understand where that association comes from. Let's be honest, Jamaica has had an enormous impact on global culture. Think about reggae, dancehall, Bob Marley. Think about Jamaican athletes dominating international sprinting. Think about Jamaican food. Think about patois becoming recognizable in music, movies, and social media. Think about the Jamaican flag appearing everywhere, from clothing to music festivals to sports events. Jamaica has built a cultural identity that is instantly recognizable around the world, and that is something Jamaicans should absolutely be proud of. But there is another side of that success. When one country's culture becomes extremely visible internationally, people who aren't familiar with the wider region can start using that country as a shortcut for the entire region. It's almost like Jamaica became the international reference point for the Caribbean, and that can create an unintended problem. Because the Caribbean isn't Jamaica, the Caribbean is Jamaica plus Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Grenada, St. Lucia, Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Bahamas, Haiti, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and many others. Every one of those places has its own story. So why do people keep making this mistake? There are several reasons. First, limited exposure. If someone has only interacted with Caribbean people through Jamaican music, Jamaican movies, Jamaican athletes, or Jamaican social media creators, then Jamaica becomes their frame of reference. Second, media representation. Jamaican culture has had enormous international visibility. You can hear Jamaican accents and expressions in music, entertainment, and online culture all over the world. That doesn't mean other Caribbean cultures aren't influential. It simply means Jamaica has become especially recognizable. Third, the accents can share features. Caribbean English varieties have developed through complicated histories involving African languages, European languages, indigenous influences, migration, and interaction between different communities. So there can be similarities in rhythm, pronunciation, and expressions, but similar doesn't mean identical. And finally, there is something very simple. People sometimes just don't know, and not knowing isn't necessarily disrespectful. The problem comes when someone is corrected and still refuses to recognize the other person's identity. There is a big difference between saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you are from Trinidad," and saying, "No, you sound Jamaican, you must be Jamaican." At that point, you are arguing with the person about their own nationality. This is why I think conversations like this can actually be useful, because they remind the world that the Caribbean is not one culture. Take Trinidad and Tobago. You have soccer, carnival, and completely a different cultural history. Look at Barbados, a country with its own accent, traditions, food, and identity. Look at Guyana. Its history and culture have connections across the Caribbean and South America, creating something very unique. Then you have Grenada, St. Lucia, Dominica, Antigua, and Barbuda, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Bahamas, and so many others, and even countries that are often grouped together as the Caribbean can have dramatically different cultural experiences. That's what makes the region so fascinating. You don't have to make Jamaica smaller in order to make other Caribbean nations more visible. Jamaica can shine, and everyone else can shine too. In fact, I think Jamaican global influence can actually be an opportunity. Because when someone says, "I love Jamaica," that can become an opening to introduce them to the rest of the Caribbean. You can say, "You love Jamaican music. Great. Now let me show you some Trinidadian soca. You love Jamaican food? Let me introduce you to some Barbadian or Grenadian dishes. You love Caribbean culture? There is an entire region waiting for you to explore." That's not competition. That's cultural expansion. I think many Jamaicans can actually relate to these conversations from another angle, because Jamaica is also sometimes stereotyped. People hear Jamaican music and assume every Jamaican behaves the same way. They see a Jamaican athlete and suddenly think they understand the entire country. They hear patois and assume they understand every Jamaican expression. But Jamaica itself is diverse. So, if Jamaicans can understand that people shouldn't reduce the entire identity to a stereotype, then the same principle should apply across the Caribbean. We should be curious instead of assuming. Ask, "Where are you from?" instead of, you sound Jamaican. And if they tell you they are from Barbados, Trinidad, St. Lucia, Guyana, and somewhere else, believe them. You might even learn something new, because cultural knowledge doesn't come from assuming, it comes from listening. At the end of the day, I don't think this conversation should become Jamaica versus the rest of the Caribbean. That completely misses the point. Jamaica's global influence is real. Jamaican culture has touched millions of people around the world, and that's something worth celebrating. But the Caribbean is a beautiful collection of different nations, history, accents, and identities, and every one of them deserves to be recognized. So, the next time you hear a Caribbean accent, don't immediately jump to, "You are a Jamaican?" Maybe ask, "Where are you from?" You might be surprised by the answer, and that's the beauty of culture. You discover something new when you stop assuming you already know everything. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever mistaken someone's nationality because of their accent? And if you are Caribbean, have people ever assumed you were Jamaican when you weren't? Now, tell me where you are from in the comments, and let's have this conversation respectfully. If you enjoyed this reaction, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more conversations about Jamaica, the Caribbean, Africa, and global culture. This is Josely Commentary. Until next time, one love.